What are the three main points that you're standing for?
Community engagement, our children, and our development in our town. Yeah, basically. They're my strong views, along with many others. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your position on growth in Cromwell and the region.
Growth in this region we've seen over the last few years, like consistently climbing, and it all goes back from the recession in the country. And I believe we're on the back foot from that recession because the current government at that time wanted to get things going and get the drive going, and rightfully so. We needed a boost. But from the time they put the word go on it, I believe a lot of our local bodies around the country didn't get going at the same time because the funds weren't there, and they're very hard to do, and hence the reason everything's behind the eight ball, and it's consistently just growing behind the eight ball from there. It stems to so many issues, and now we've got to a point where the demand is outweighing the supply. We're seeing section prices skyrocketing. My big concern is if we end up with an oversupply, like this is a real hard one, because if we end up with an oversupply, we'll have this group of people that have worked very hard that are out there in this region now to buy a property, and they've paid top dollar for it. If we have that oversupply like we've had previous times, and it's happened in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, and we've seen it, those people overnight could quite possibly lose their equity. That scares me, because they have worked hard for what they've got. So to try and balance that is a very hard one. We have to be very careful. We need to focus on the growth, yes, but we need to focus on it in such a way that it's going to benefit for a long time after now. Like, we've all only got so many years on this planet, and I don't want to be the person that gets criticised after I'm gone for being one of the ones behind a stuff up, basically, and not doing things right, because I won't be there to defend myself. I'll be gone, just like the rest of us. We want our next generations after us to be there and look back and go, that group of people, they thought about us and they thought ahead, and that's my view on it. And I have a lot of sleepless nights thinking about the way the growth's going. Where I was in West Australia, in Port Hedland, when we were up there, my wife and I, rent was $3,500 a week and above. It was nuts. House prices were in the millions, right? Up there now, I could go and buy a house up there for $250,000. This is only in the space of 10 years. Okay, it's a completely different type of sector. It was the mineral sector, but it was still a boom. And we're seeing a boom here, and we want to be able to embrace it, but we need to do it right, because people love this place. I don't want to see people leave, you know. I don't want to see kids going without because their parents are trying to work hard to pay off the house. So it's a very big problem. That's one of my many views on it. I could talk all day about it.
What do you think should happen with the Cromwell Memorial Hall?
My biggest concern with the Memorial Hall, and I've said this publicly, I pay respect to those people that worked hard to build that hall. They done a great job. They didn't have the technology like we've got today. They done it with blood, sweat and tears, and I honour them for that. And I rate it the same as Carisbrook, like I've said before. We were gutted when we heard Carisbrook was going, and everyone had a view on it. Carisbrook's gone now, and look what that new stadium down there is doing. You've got all sorts of things going on. Test matches, the Warriors, you even have motocross events in that stadium. Music events like I've said, attract so many people. There's not enough accommodation in that town and hotels, so working class people get to rent out their homes or their garages or caravans, whatever it may be, and make honest money. They get money in their back pocket. It doesn't go into a corporate hotel chain finances, it goes to hard working Otago residents. And we've got to the point with that hall now that yes, it's done its time, but also the earthquake rating, like I've heard so many different reports and everything like that. It's all very cool, but if we have a major shake here in this region one day, I bet you those people that have put their name on it, they'll disappear, and they won't want to know anything about it. It's a very thin line to be walking down, I believe, and we've outgrown that hall, and we need to have the proper conversation, like what the past group has been trying to achieve. but we've got to be adults, and we've got to talk properly about it, and we've got to bring everyone in on the idea and work with everyone. We're here to work together, not against each other. It's like we've got the best best rugby team in the world, right? That listen to all these different ideas. They take criticism from people, they throw it all in, and they work hard. But yet, in other areas of our country, we don't like doing that. We're not prepared to listen to other sides of stories. And it's like, well, why is that? Like, the number 8 wire theory in this country, it's going out the back door because we're constantly not wanting to think about doing something different, and invent it. We need to focus on that hall. It's a big talking point in this town. It's the white elephant in the town, like I say. It needs to be thought of properly, like a lot of people are doing a lot of work in the background for. But I want to see a great venue that can cater for all of us people in this town, young and old. But like I've said, our young generation will use that hall more than you and I. They will. Like I've said, they will go to playgroups there, they'll have birthday parties, they'll have their school formal party there. They may even have their wedding parties there. And as terrible as it is, they'll go to their mates' funerals in that hall. That's the nuts of it. And we want to build something that when we're all gone, those next generations are going to look at and they're going to be like, yeah, they done a good job. But we have to pay respect to those guys that built that, and I do. I pay big respect to them. They shaped this region.
The Cromwell Mall, the retail heart of the town, how can we make it a vibrant place for visitors, for businesses, for locals?
I think trying to open it up more to some degree than what it is now, but also trying to attract certain types, I'm not saying be picky, but trying to attract certain types of businesses in there that are going to attract people. So, for example, if you had in the right spot there a daycare centre, you'd get all the mums coming in the morning and they'll drop the kids off, and then they might go to the gym afterwards. There's a gym in there now, or then they might get a coffee and catch up with one of their mates, But there's so many different options you could do, but you want the right type of businesses that are going to attract people. Yes, there is businesses in there that are working very hard, and they've done the hard yards when we've seen, the recession and whatnot, and they've had to slave it out to make ends meet in there. So I'm not saying put the kibosh on them at all. They deserve their spot, and they've worked hard for it. But there's a few empty spots in that mall, and there's room to move, but we need to make it more open for people to get in. But the best thing about it is it's a great, safe spot. Like, you haven't got the hustle and bustle of cars roaring past. And I know it goes right back to the day of when the ministry was doing the dam and the mall debate. Like, I've read an interesting book, Who Killed the Cluther, and it goes from both sides of the story. And there's talk in there about the mall from how it was proposed and whatnot. So there's a lot of history there, but let's take some ownership of it. Let's get involved. You hear different people saying, "Oh, just get rid of it." Well, I don't think it's that simple, unfortunately. There's probably not the finances there for some of the owners or developers or council. It's a hard one, but I think if we can, let's work with what we've got. Let's work with what we've got. Look at the Winterfest when they have the Winter Festival there, the light up. The first year they had that, I was proud to live in Cromwell. I was like, look at this group of people who have done an awesome thing here tonight. The place was packed. It was a hype of activity. Kids were loving it. Young and old were in there. And I was like, this is awesome. And it just proved to me, it's not all about buildings that make an area. It's the people. And it was the people in there that night that made the area. Not a two-story building, or it was the people.
Tell us a bit about yourself and what makes you feel emotional about this community.
It's a real good one, actually. It brings a tear to my eye because about a year and a half ago, my wife, we found out she had cancer, and it broke me. Everything I'd worked for my life was like on the line. Like we just worked and worked so we could come here and bring up our family, and I thought I was going to lose all that. And we were in Dunedin. Rebecca had surgery and she was in HDU, and it was pretty major, and I'll never forget it. I got this text message this night, and it was late, and it was about 9:30 at night, and it was from one of the ladies in Cromwell, from a group that they call themselves Meals for Mums, and they said, "Hey Luke, we know what's going on. We want to be able to help for when you guys get home with doing meals." And I was blown away. And when we finally got home and got Rebecca back, it was tough going. And these mums, every night, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, would turn up at home, a different one each day, with homemade meals, so I didn't have to do anything. It proved to me, I was starting to lose my faith with all our growth. I was starting to lose my faith in our region. I thought we were losing that personal touch, and it brought it back to me. I was like, it hasn't gone. It was still there. I just had to find it. And those ladies done an awesome job. I never got to thank them publicly for it, and I do. It meant the world to us. And it gave me a new lease on life, realising that, yeah, we've got good people in this region, and I wouldn't be anywhere else. I couldn't be now, because it's that sort of support. It was just yesterday I was driving down Barry Ave, and I was seeing this chap who was moving some gear out of his house, and I was seeing this other guy, and from the body language they didn't know each other, and he was walking his dog, and he was rolling a wine barrel, and he was trying to get in his trailer, and this guy stops, and I cruised past, had my window down, and I heard him say, "Do you need a hand, mate?" And next one I watched him in the side mirror, and he's helping him, then off he goes with his dog. And I was just like, that's why we live here. That is why. We haven't lost that. We're not in some big city that no one cares about their next door neighbours. We look out for each other, and it's still there. That's probably one of the most emotional things for me about this region. It's the people. They're awesome. Yeah, I couldn't be anywhere else.